hosting this week? Anybody hosting? Hosting 4 people? 10 people? Anybody hosting more people than you should be? Anybody doing all the cooking? Oh my goodness, you guys are ambitious hospitality people. You've probably given some thought as to what's going in your mouth in the next week. What I want to challenge us to think about is what's coming out of our mouth in the next coming week. And I don't mean regurgitating. Think about this for a minute. We're naturally inclined to think about things like calorie balance. Now, whether or not you do anything with it, we're trained to think about it, like, am I eating and expending a similar amount of energy? Because we know when we're eating too much energy and expending not enough, that gets us in a place we don't want with our health. And we also know if we're expending a lot of energy, but we're not consuming enough calories, that also puts us in a place of depletion that we don't want. But what I want us to think about for just a minute is receiving gifts and giving thanks. How many gifts do you receive every single day? And how much gratitude do you give is there a balance? Is it imbalanced? If it's imbalanced, which way is it imbalanced? I'm going to share 5 lessons on gratitude. Let me just pre-frame you for this. This is not going to be mind-blowing stuff. Because, quite honestly, some of the best gifts in our life are some of the things that we take for granted the most. But after we lay a little bit of groundwork on 5 lessons of gratitude, what really matters is the practice of gratitude, not the knowledge of it. So we'll do a little bit of that too. By the end of the day, literally by the end of the service, we will have amassed a pile of things to be grateful for, and then we will just shoot that gratitude out into our community throughout the week. Here's a first one about gratitude. Gratitude is a right response for God's good gifts. Gratitude is a right response for God's good gifts. Here's a 1 Chronicles passage. This also shows up in the Psalms. It says, "Give thanks to the Lord, for he is" what? Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. His faithful love endures forever. How many things in our normal day-to-day life has God pumped in with blessings that we probably have stopped giving thanks for a long time ago? We tend to give thanks when something is new or surprising, but what we often do is sort of just move on with the day-to-day life when things aren't new or surprising. God did not put our lives on autopilot. He didn't just wind the clock, set it spinning, and put it in motion. He's actually involved in the day-to-day lives of so many good things. What does it take for God's creation? What gifts did he already give for us to be able to wake up today, to be able to put on clothes today? Who made the clothes? Who is shaping? Who built the building? So many things that God has done. And when we give thanks to God for those things, it actually brings us into a perspective of a relationship with God. Part of experiencing a lifestyle of gratitude is to recognize that these things that God does for us, it doesn't have to do. And if we keep seeing them, it primes our heart to be grateful to him for that. John Ortberg said, "Gratitude is the ability to experience life as a gift." It liberates us. It's not just the things that we get in life are gifts. Life itself is a gift, and it's pumped and loaded with those gifts. And when we give thanks, it liberates us from the prison of self-preoccupation. We all of a sudden see the gifts, and then we can open our mouths and give thanks for them. Here's the second one. Gratitude gives us perspective. It's a right response to God because he's giving us so many gifts, but it also gives and changes our perspective. Here's Philippians 4. "Always be full of joy in the Lord. I say it again, rejoice. Let everyone see that you're considerate in all that you do. Remember, the Lord is coming soon. Don't worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything. Tell God what you need and what? Yeah, tell God what you need and thank Him for all He has done. Then you'll experience God's peace, which exceeds anything we can understand. His peace will guard your hearts and minds as you live in Christ Jesus. That's Philippians 4:4-7. I love how often Paul sprinkles reminders of thanksgiving and gratitude in all of his letters to all of the churches. And I also like to see the correlation where you notice thankfulness is often surrounded by a promise or a command for peace or joy. Did you see in that verse, as I read it, you only see on the screen the middle of it, but before it was joy. And after it was peace. When we give thanks regularly, what it does is it breaks us from this cycle of prayer that becomes self-oriented and becomes problem-oriented. Not everybody prays, but oftentimes when people begin a habit of prayer, the easiest thing to pray about is, God, will you? God, will you please? God, will you please? God, will you please? And God wants us to ask. He wants us to ask for what we need. He, in fact, tells us. And not just what you need, I want you to ask so that I can do more than you even ask for. But that can deteriorate from a relationship to a genie in the bottle request situation where we kind of go, God, will you please? God, will you please? God, will you please? And He's answering these God, will you pleases all along. And in a relationship, what do we want to do? We actually want to stop and say, thank you. I recognize these aren't just magic miracles coming down from heaven, but God is in conversation. He's hearing my prayers. Stopping to say thank you gives us that relational depth. It changes our perspective. It gives us a different focus. Robert Brath said, gratitude and attitude are not challenges, they're choices. If you, at any point in this talk, if you hear yourself in your head going, well, it's easy for that situation, they can be grateful, but I don't have that situation. That's a choice that you just thought. You just decided not to be grateful because instead you chose to compare. If you look at somebody else and go, well, gosh, yeah, the blessing or the thing they're giving thanks for, mine died a year ago. I can't be thankful. That is a choice of focus. Before you even got to gratitude, the choice of focus stopped you from it. If you go, well, it's easy for them to be thankful, they're healthy. That's a choice of focus. All of the details might be true. It's a choice of focus. And when we get into a choice of giving thanks, over time, that gratitude, that practice, that choice, again and again, it develops an attitude of gratitude. And when attitudes are in full formation, they come with force. We don't have to prime them. They're already there. A few months ago, I was having a bad day and focusing on negative stuff. And I'm sure I was complaining about that negative stuff too. And my wife just kind of gently reminded me of all the blessings that God has placed in our life this year, in 2023. And my focus was like probably a week deep of things that were bothering me. And she didn't criticize me for what I was saying. She didn't argue with me. She just reminded me a little bit of history of God's blessings. Look at this. Do you remember this? We prayed for this. And do you remember how God answered this? Do you remember this surprise blessing here? Do you remember this? Wow, this is incredible. And as we started relaying the blessings of our lives in the last year, boy, this just wasn't that interesting to focus on anymore. Gratitude, just like our attitude, is a choice, not a challenge. Here's the third one. Gratitude blesses others. Gratitude blesses others. Here's a great proverb. I'm going to read it from the Message translation. This is Eugene Peterson's, which I don't usually read from, but I really like the way he sums up the effect of our words on other people. He says this, Proverbs 18:21. Words kill, words give life. They're either poison or fruit. You choose. Isn't that great? Our words have incredible power to kill or give life. You choose. Gratitude is an immediate, incredible, free way to motivate other people. It's incredible, the resource that we have that costs us nothing but is actually worth a lot. And it comes by just simply speaking things like, thank you. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for noticing. Thank you for being here. Thank you for what you offered. That is an incredible gift to other people. I'm not fully formed in the habit, but I like to, as often as I can remember, thank people for things they don't usually get thanked for, or notice people that usually get overlooked. So in settings where, just the other day I can think of one where a custodian was in a room I was walking through, and there's very few people that ever see this person work or appreciate the work that she did. And I just stopped and didn't know her, never met her before in my life. It wasn't this building. I know that person. But I just stopped and said, hey, thank you so much for your work. It's really important. And you could see the wheel spinning. It's like, wait a minute. What did I do? Like, what's the next part? Is the restroom a mess? Is there a spill I need to clean up? And then when I walked away, it was just like, wait, there wasn't a next part? Oh. Thanking people for... The other day we had an Eagle Scout group do a project in this building, basically transforming a room, getting rid of some things that needed to be moved, painting the room, redesigning some things. They did a wonderful job. Some of them were from the church, some of them were from the community, and they did a fantastic job of this project, and it was for the Eagle Scouts. It was a project. It was a win-win situation for everybody, but I was leaving the church one night, it was a Monday night about 9:30, and I noticed the group, some of the group had cleared out, but there was a big trailer with some stuff they were hauling that they were finishing up in the parking lot. And so I walked out in the parking lot, and none of the individuals in this none of those who remained at this time of night I'd ever met before. I thought, my goodness, you guys have been doing an amazing job. So I just went up to him and said, hey, I'm Jared. I work here. This room looks awesome. You guys did an amazing job. Thank you so much for coming. And, there's lots of Eagle Scouts, but there's lots of dads. There's lots of mutual volunteering as well. And I just said, but this is awesome. Thank you guys. You did a great job. And I just want to tell you what your contribution will do for the church and what the church will do for other people. I love randomly telling people who don't necessarily get to see the connection. Because you sprayed around the building for pests, that makes the church a more hospitable, less pesty place. And when that happens, people who come in here who are low, they find hope. And when people come in here to honor a loved one in a funeral and there's a cockroach running around, it distracts, doesn't it? Thank you for doing this, because your work matters, and people will have hope and they'll walk away with life and their hearts will be filled with love because you clean that bathroom. I've sometimes I've done some tours in some of the orthopedic buildings in this community, and it's just amazing for me to see all that happens in those buildings. And I thought, man, there's so many people involved, so many processes to make one little knee. You know what I mean? Like, where did that knee go just to become a knee before it even travels in a body? And I thought, man, so many important roles. If I was an executive at this company, here's what I would do to motivate people. Here's my, if I was an executive in an orthopedic company, dream moment, okay? Maybe they already do this. I would make it a habit of once a month flying somebody from around the world who had a successful knee transplant or a knee replacement. I'd bring them in the building. I'd say, you can walk now. Let's just walk around. And just walk around and see the whole process of the knee. And just say, hey, by the way, thank everybody. Just go crazy with thanks, because you can walk now. And just walk up to the polisher and be like, thank you so much. I can walk around with my grandkids now. And walk up to the machinist and go, thank you so much. Check this out. I think that would be better than a bonus. And all of you who are in the company goes, no. I appreciate it, but no. Gratitude is free motivation. Thank you. While I'm at it and getting out of control for just a minute, I just want to say thank you to those of you who are in the room. I could go around the room to every single person and say thank you. Thank you for making a difference. I know you don't always get credit for it, and I know some of the things you think you do don't really count, but they do. I see it day in and day out, the little things, the encouragements, the drop-bys, the cards, the notes, the giving, the serving, the loving your family, the work that you do. Thank you. It makes a difference. JR, I meant to say thank you this morning, didn't get to see you. Thank you. You are a steady rock serving at that location. And for those of you online, thank you too. Come next week so I can thank you in person. We'd love to have you here. Fred DeWitt Van Omberg said, gratitude is a currency we can mint ourselves and spend without fear of bankruptcy. What if you were told that you're going to get a money printing machine for Christmas, but you had to give it all away? That's what gratitude is. You can have that before Christmas. Here's number 4. Gratitude changes your brain. Gratitude changes your brain. Studies have shown this. One article by a neurohealth website. The article is entitled, Neuroscience Reveals Gratitude Literally Rewires Your Brain to Be Happier. It says this, gratitude affects brain function on a chemical level, and its practice promotes feelings of self-worth and compassion for others. I love free mental health pills like this. Here's the prescription. Say thank you a lot. Gratitude affects the brain function on a chemical level, and its practice, notice the word practice, promotes feelings of self-worth and compassion for others. That's fantastic news. If you feel like your self-esteem is sometimes dipping a little lower, or the way you see yourself isn't really positive at times, saying thank you can make a big difference in the way you view yourself, and it can make a big difference in the way you view others. Just like Jesus taught to us to pray for our enemies and bless those who persecute us, when we say thank you to people that sometimes we don't have a great deal of compassion for, that can have a large effect. Paul puts it like this in 1 Thessalonians. Always be joyful. Notice that joy sandwich again. Never stop praying. Be thankful in all circumstances. This is God's will for you who belong to Christ Jesus. Be thankful in all circumstances. Be thankful in what? I think you would feel it more if you said it out loud, and 4 or 5 of you did really well. But let's try it again. Be thankful in... Yeah, not necessarily be thankful for all circumstances. There's some things that happen that we don't want to be thankful for, although we could probably see it as an opportunity for growth. But be thankful in all circumstances. If you feel like you've floundered and don't know God's will for your life, this is a great starting point that gives us very clear guidance. Be joyful, never stop praying, be thankful in all circumstances. This is, in the last couple weeks, it's deer season, full go. Anybody do any deer hunting so far? I know some. Anybody had any success in deer hunting? I got a picture from my best friend this couple days ago, this weekend. He's hunting in Michigan, and he got a big buck. I'm like, man, this is a pretty good year for you. Anybody ever scouted for where you're going to put up a deer stand or a tree stand? You're looking for deer paths. You're looking for regular routes. You're looking for where am I going to have the most likelihood to find one, right? Because if I'm putting up a stand, I want to have a good shot that I'm able to see and get a good target on where they're going to travel. And if you're looking for where they travel, yes, you can do cameras. Those new technologies are very helpful. But you can often tell where deer go by the deer paths. I mean, there's rubs and scrapes as well that help you. But you can pretty much see an animal path in the woods and know, well, this is a heavily traveled path. How do we know the heavily traveled paths? The more you travel a path, the wider it becomes. The less you travel a path, the weedier it becomes. The more you travel the path of gratitude, the wider it becomes. The pathways in your brain functions get bigger. And the less you travel, the weedier it becomes. Gratitude as a practice, changes your brain. It widens the path. If you want to be a chronic complainer, practice. If you want to be a chronic complimenter, how do you master your craft? Doris Day said, gratitude is riches, complaint is poverty. Here's the last one. Gratitude makes us happier and healthier. I love the positive effects of doing what God wants us to do anyway, and it just blesses us back as well as other people. Gratitude makes us happier and healthier. Colossians 3:15 puts it this way. And let the peace that comes from Christ rule in your hearts. For as members of one body, you are called to live in peace and always be thankful. Notice again that sandwich of joy, peace, thankfulness, happiness. Those are often connected. Jefferson Bethke says, thankfulness is the quickest path to joy. Thankfulness is the quickest path to joy. And studies have shown this as well. A UCLA Health article said that gratitude has the effects of reducing depression, anxiety, and stress, and increasing overall heart health. Saying thank you is actually very potent medicine. And again, not just once, it's the practice of. This could be a gratitude journal. Sometimes I'll do this where I have a small gratitude journal. First thing in the morning, write down a few things, or last thing at night, write down a few things I'm thankful for. This could be as simple as saying thank you a lot for things, such as things that you usually overlook. Here's a great one. If you happen to be married, and you happen to have a spouse who goes to work on a regular basis and provides for the family, blow them away for a few weeks and just thank them for going to work every time they get home. Thank you for going to work today. What, are you glad to get rid of me? No, thank you. You didn't have to do this. Yeah, but I do it every day. But you didn't have to. How about I've been doing it for 20 years? But thank you. You still did it. It matters. We have food. We have heat. The heat is on. The electricity is still running. Thank you. Thank you for making this meal. I make meals every night. I know. Thank you. I'm nourished and alive because of it. I'm not talking about being fake. I'm just talking about being genuinely thank someone for something they do all the time that you've stopped thanking them for a long time ago. Just do that for a week or two and see what happens. Things will change. They'll think you're strange. They'll think you're up to something. And then when they realize you're not up to something and it's not going to be followed by a but thanks for this meal, but have you tasted it? No. Thank you. Tecumseh said, when you rise in the morning, give thanks for the food and for the joy of living. If you see no reason for giving thanks, the fault lies only in yourself. I did this week, so I got to time it a little bit. You guys get one of these? Everybody get one? If you don't have one, if you would, just raise your hand, and JR, I'll look for your hand, and maybe he can bring you one, or maybe we can find somebody else who can. How many spots here? 100 reasons to give thanks. God has put more than 100 blessings in your life for sure, but we're going to collect them. We're going to do a thanks dump. Well, that's not a good way to put it. We're going to give a thanks blitz. A lot of thanksgiving on a piece of paper. So what I'd like to ask you to do is practice this with me. We're going to take a few minutes here at the end. I've stopped talking now. Message is done. Application has started. What I'd like to ask you to do is find a pen somewhere near you. You need to write on your knee or write on the seat or something else. I'd like you to start writing, even start now. I'll talk, but you can start now. Just start writing things that you're thankful for. We're going to try to get to 100. We're going to try to each get to 100. Start writing things that you're thankful for. The more specific, the better. The more specific, the better. You can start writing even while I'm talking. And we're going to do something with this in a few minutes.